Welcome back to our channel where we present updates and concealed tales about royal family. We are happy to offer the following news. Prince Harry and Meghan burst to tears as they face his harsh reality in the United States. Since their relocation to the United States in 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, have intentionally redefined their public positions and professional paths, pursuing financial autonomy while remaining committed to public service and activism. This strategic shift has entailed the establishment of a nonprofit organization, Archewell, the negotiation of media production contracts with prominent entertainment firms, involvement in notable documentary projects and a memoir, and more recently, the creation and introduction of a lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. Each effort constitutes a component of a comprehensive strategy aimed at transforming global name recognition into a sustainable foundation for influence and revenue. As they adjust their public persona from the formal responsibilities of senior British royalty to a hybrid role encompassing celebrity advocacy and commerce, their public appearances and messaging decisions have consistently garnered significant media scrutiny and public discourse. Two recent events, a prominent appearance at a Los Angeles Dodgers baseball game, and Prince Harry's public commentary on the detrimental effects of social media, have elucidated the contradictions intrinsic to their new strategy. These instances provide a valuable framework for examining the interplay between public perception, brand sustainability, and the internal coherence of messaging in the couple's post-royal existence. The Dodgers' participation is enlightening as it yielded an exceptionally candid and unfiltered assessment of public response. At Dodger Stadium, the pair was prominently positioned in a premium area and momentarily shown on the stadium's large-screen video board, eliciting a mixed reaction from the crowd, audible cheers from some attendees and emphatic boos from others. Video recordings and eyewitness testimonies disseminated swiftly through social media and news platforms amplified the adverse response, transforming a standard celebrity appearance into a widely debated event. Public figures frequently encounter both applause and criticism at events. However, this moment was particularly significant due to the observer's interpretation of the booing as not merely an isolated reaction from that specific crowd, but as potentially indicative of a wider, more ingrained public sentiment in California and beyond. Several considerations render this episode worthy of meticulous examination. The audience at a significant sporting event in Los Angeles generally comprises a diverse array of participants, local residents from various socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds, out-of-town guests, dedicated sports enthusiasts, and a media-aware throng interested in celebrity appearances. When a negative reaction arises in that context, it is challenging to dismiss it as merely the result of a narrowly defined interest group. The diversity of attendees indicates that reactions may embody a combination of specific grievances, overarching cultural sentiments, and transient crowd emotions. When this combination skews negative, it implies more than a mere single-issue backlash. Secondly, the stadium atmosphere intensifies responses. Sound reverberates, video displays magnify faces for tens of thousands of attendees, and social media may rapidly disseminate clips to worldwide audiences. Thus, even fleeting reactions can evolve into enduring tales. In this amplification loop, a brief duration of audible booing transforms into a lasting emblem of rejection that endures much beyond the event itself. Third, at a time when public personas are meticulously managed by publicists and selected media interactions, spontaneous crowd reactions serve as an unfiltered gauge of mood that undermines orchestrated messaging. The perceived genuineness of a live audience response starkly contrasts with orchestrated interactions, and this disparity can amplify the cultural importance attributed to what could otherwise be an inconsequential occasion. Comprehending the reasons for the booing necessitates an examination of the interplay among individual backgrounds, career decisions, and media influences, rather than relying on a singular explanation. A prominent aspect is the couple's public separation from the British royal family. Following their withdrawal from key royal duties, the Sussexes have engaged in prominent interviews, released a multi-part documentary, and written a memoir that collectively revealed distressing and occasionally sensational aspects of their lives within the institution. The confessions elicited compassion from many, although they also incited condemnation from others, who perceive the public revelation of familial conflicts as an invasion of privacy or a detrimental assault on a venerable national institution. For a portion of the public, the act of depicting royal discord in the international media has transformed the pair from symbols of empathy into catalysts of controversy. The reframing functions in multiple capacities. Some perceive the couple's revelations as bold truth-telling against a secretive institution, while others view them as a commodified exposition of personal grievances that capitalizes on the public's intrigue with monarchy. The latter reading aligns with enduring British cultural standards around prudence and communal stewardship of the monarchy norms that may not seamlessly transition into an American environment where prominent personal revelation is frequently tolerated or even commercialized. The widespread coverage of these disclosures in international media ensures that the couple's public image continues to influence domestic audiences' perceptions of sympathy or skepticism. Media organizations in both nations have significantly invested in narratives concerning the Sussexes. Hence, each new appearance or utterance is analyzed through the lens of previous coverage, influencing public interpretations of transient events, such as stadium booing. A local, more immediate dynamic is associated with Meghan Markle's origins. Her pre-royal work and familial connections acquainted her with Hollywood's social and professional spheres. Her father, Thomas Markle Sr., is a retired television lighting director with a well-documented extensive career in the business. The widely reported rift between Meghan and her father has become a continual media narrative. In the Hollywood sphere of Los Angeles, where industry heritage enduring personal connections and conventions of confidentiality hold significant sway, the story of a split familial relationship can shape perceptions in a manner distinct from other locales. Individuals involved in or closely observing Hollywood may be acutely aware of the reputational ramifications of familial conflicts, resulting in increased scrutiny or skepticism. Consequently, the couple's presence in Los Angeles may have coincided with prevailing local sentiments around privacy, familial visibility, and the amalgamation of celebrity culture with personal revelations. A furthermore anecdotal aspect of public discourse around the Dodgers event pertains to the couple's extensive history of public appearances and the superstitious remarks that occasionally accompany famous sightings. Observers have occasionally remarked on a coincidental trend when athletes or teams exhibit subpar performance following visible support from the Duchess. Past examples such as Serena Williams' defeats during Meghan's attendance are referenced humorously. While these associations are purely coincidental and lack any causal connection, their presence in media discourse highlights the intense scrutiny faced by the Sussexes. Even the outcome of a tennis match or a baseball game can be integrated into a narrative regarding their impact in public perception. The willingness to link unrelated occurrences through a whimsical conspiracy illustrates the extent to which the couple's actions are scrutinized and how swiftly neutral public environments can be recontextualized as sites of evaluation. The media coverage of the Dodgers incident exemplified overarching trends in news production outlets are motivated to create compelling, shareable narratives, and the imagery of booing disrupting a family-friendly sporting event provides a neat, conflict-oriented story. The news cycle's demand for easily digestible moments prompts journalists and commentators to extrapolate frequently in an exaggerated manner from transient events. Social media exacerbates this phenomenon by amplifying the most emotionally impactful interpretations. In this context, booing during a game transcends a mere regional response. It serves as material for cultural analysis regarding the couple's status, the American perception of contemporary monarchy, and the sustainability of the Sussexes' public endeavor. Observers who viewed the booing as more than a transient response characterized it as a wake-up call, a frank warning that public sentiment in the United States is neither always favorable nor easily shaped. Public figures converting their celebrity into economic enterprises may face tangible repercussions from unanticipated unfavorable responses. Public perception serves as a type of social capital influencing media coverage, consumer engagement with commercial items, and the efficacy of advocacy efforts. The Dodger Stadium incident consequently prompted inquiries over the sustainability of the Sussexes' allure in a significant American market, and how their previous decisions may hinder attempts to cultivate a widely accepted public persona in their new country. The ramifications of this public reaction immediately impact brand strategy, presenting the Sussexes with specific and significant issues. Meghan's introduction of American Riviera Orchard was executed as a contemporary celebrity-oriented product launch, a meticulously curated social media announcement, the distribution of sample products, jars of jam to chosen influencers and acquaintances, and a focus on lifestyle rather than celebrity itself. The technique embodies modern methodologies in influencer marketing and direct-to-consumer branding, which frequently depend on earned media curated aesthetics and the founder's personal narrative to stimulate initial interest in sales. The success of such activities is closely linked to impressions of genuineness, relatability, and likability. In consumer psychology, emotional attachment to a creator or the company's persona can lead to brand trust and consequently influence purchase behavior. If a significant segment of the target market views the founder unfavorably, this emotional barrier might hinder adoption and diminish the likelihood of loyal return customers. The scholarship on advertising and marketing provides insight into the significance of a stadium's booing response. Brands endorsed by celebrities leverage what is often referred to as borrowed equity, the capacity to convey the celebrity's favorable connotations to a product. This transmission is contingent upon the celebrity's perceived warmth, competency, and genuineness. If public narratives highlight privilege opportunism or inconsistency, such impressions may erode the emotional connection that drives consumer loyalty. The Sussexes confront a conundrum wherein their notoriety is partially derived from their royal status, which bestows prestige and recognition. But this same status may alienate them from average consumers whose purchasing choices are shaped by assumptions of shared values and lived experiences. The endeavor to merge royal prestige with American lifestyle branding presents a multifaceted positioning dilemma. It must harmonize a tone of exclusivity and tradition with one of accessibility and quotidian significance. The pricing and channel strategy are essential to the brand's future potential. Products priced at a premium and disseminated through channels linked to aspirational lifestyle consumption may attract a demographic that prioritizes luxury and celebrity association. However, a premium positioning may also intensify criticisms regarding the couple's disconnection from quotidian realities, particularly in a market where numerous consumers are price-sensitive or wary of apparent elitism. A mass market strategy may undermine the uniqueness that celebrity endorsement can offer. Effectively managing that trade-off necessitates a precise definition of brand purpose and a narrative that persuasively connects product characteristics to tangible benefits, such as organic sourcing, charity initiatives, and community collaborations, rather than depending exclusively on the founder's notoriety. Operational decisions are significant: sustainable sourcing, transparent supply chains, third-party certifications, and collaborations with reputable merchants or social enterprises can effectively convert brand assertions into concrete proof that appeals to discriminating consumers. The couple's dual public identity, rooted in royal titles but manifested in commercial American settings, has sparked discussion over conventions and expectations. Conventional notions of royalty underscore service, philanthropy, and symbolic representation, typically executed through institutional funding rather than personal financial gain. The Sussexes' post-royal endeavors subvert that paradigm. They seek financial autonomy by capitalizing on the distinctive recognition of their titles in commercial and media enterprises. Critics contend that this methodology jeopardizes the sanctity of an institution that has always been founded on principles of civic obligation and national continuity. From this perspective, a royal brand seemingly crafted exclusively for profit generation rather than public service obligations may seem incongruous and incite contempt. The discourse surrounding commodification profoundly engages with societal norms on the ethical economy of specific roles. Monarchies, as emblematic institutions, have traditionally depended on an unspoken social contract, the trade of symbolic authority for governance and perpetuity. When individuals from such institutions assume explicitly commercial positions, some analysts perceive this shift as a violation of that agreement. Simultaneously, proponents of the Sussexes may argue that their endeavors to finance their own initiatives embody modern ideals of independence and entrepreneurship, asserting that utilizing one's heritage to bolster philanthropic efforts or sustainable ventures constitutes a valid means of effecting change. This counterargument does not mitigate the practical challenges American consumers intrigued by the monarchy in theory, may react differently to a commercialized, ostensibly globalized iteration of royalty that appears to function primarily as a lifestyle enterprise. The issue of whether American audiences will accept a commercially driven royalty model, particularly when the commercial offerings are priced and presented to highlight privilege, remains unresolved, thus raising concerns that overt expressions of disapproval at public events indicate more profound barriers to market entry. The branding choices and self-presentation of the Sussexes further confuse public comprehension. The sporadic employment of formal titles, Prince Harry Duke of Sussex and Meghan Duchess of Sussex, coupled with fluctuations in public nomenclature, provokes discussion over authenticity and strategy. Marketing strategies that highlight a more Americanized representation of a name while yet evoking the Sussex prestige may be interpreted as an effort to reconcile distinction with approachability. However, such balancing acts may seem contrived if done inconsistently across various circumstances. Apparent contradiction in public introductions or in the depiction of their duties fosters narratives of artifice and opportunism. The widely reported departures of personnel from the couple's organization have been analyzed through the framework of organizational behavior. Elevated turnover typically signals instability. However, in the absence of comprehensive internal data, media narratives often resort to character assessments, frequently assigning culpability to leadership style. The people narratives align with the couple's strategic goals, as internal cohesion and a productive company culture are essential for initiating and maintaining credible social impact initiatives or commercial enterprises. Ongoing reports of employee churn may undermine confidence among prospective collaborators, investors, and philanthropic partners. These narratives contribute to a larger discourse that critics employ to depict the Duchess as demanding or challenging an image that starkly contrasts with the accessible service-oriented demeanor essential for a lifestyle brand seeking to connect with ordinary consumers. The ramifications of documented instability can be both pragmatic and reputational. Philanthropic partners and corporate collaborators frequently do due diligence before forming collaborations. Indicators of governance deficiencies, such as excessive turnover, ambiguous decision-making procedures, or a perceived absence of institutional safeguards may deter long-term commitments. Commercial enterprises pursuing retail distribution or wholesale collaborations require dependable supply chains, responsive personnel, and robust operational capabilities. If media narratives indicate that an organization is more reliant on individual personalities than institutional strength, prospective partners may be reluctant to engage. Restoring confidence necessitates transparent governance, demonstrable organizational structures, and third-party endorsements that substantiate assertions of mission and capacity. Concrete metrics, including audited financial records, published impact reports, and case studies with quantifiable outcomes, can assure stakeholders that the organization transcends being merely a celebrity vehicle. The Dodgers incident can be interpreted as a public expression of accumulated tensions, unease regarding the commercialization of royal identity, skepticism about the intersection of status and commerce, apprehensions about narrative coherence, and the media's tendency to magnify events that reinforce dominant narratives. Should the pair aim to initiate long-term enterprises in the United States, they will certainly need to enhance their public communication and foster more enduring emotional connections with diverse American audiences. Accomplishing this necessitates a meticulous adjustment of sincerity, humility, and evident dedication to issues or items that resonate with the actual priorities of potential supporters. Prince Harry's public advocacy for social media regulation presents an additional critical perspective that overlaps with the couple's commercial endeavors and their overarching rhetorical stance. In a recent podcast appearance, the Duke delivered a sharp indictment of social media platforms and their underlying motivations. He described segments of the sector as lawless and warned about algorithms that can guide users, particularly impressionable youth, into detrimental content streams. He cautioned that platforms are designed to optimize interaction, frequently compromising users' mental health, and advocated that control over the architecture of online environments should not be concentrated in the hands of a few private corporations. He articulated his argument personally, framing the problem as one of moral urgency and parental obligation, given his status as a father of 2 young children. From a technical and policy standpoint, Prince Harry's apprehensions embody established discussions around algorithmic amplification, engagement optimization, and the commercialization of attention. Social media algorithms favor material that provokes intense user responses as this enhances user engagement duration, hence amplifying opportunities for advertising exposure and data acquisition. The term rabbit holes denotes a phenomena in which recommendation algorithms aimed at user retention progressively showcase more extreme or controversial content that reinforces initial interests while diminishing exposure to moderate perspectives. The policy discussion regarding these technologies frequently focuses on issues of transparency, accountability, regulatory oversight, and the government's responsibility in establishing safeguards to reduce risks, particularly for children and adolescents, for whom social media plays a crucial and formative role. Notwithstanding the substantial foundation of his critique, Prince Harry's activism has garnered significant criticism based on perceived inconsistencies. The essence of the critique is clear. The Duchess established American Riviera Orchard on Instagram, and the brand's initial visibility and consumer interaction are partially reliant on the very platform dynamics that the Duke has condemned. Instagram is a platform designed on engagement-centric revenue models, employing algorithmic feeds, data aggregation, and targeted advertising to capture consumer attention. Critics contend that it is contradictory to condemn these systems while concurrently utilizing them as a principal means of economic promotion. Examining the couple's visibility management of their children highlights the discrepancy. Since becoming public, the Sussexes have prioritized their children's privacy. They have sued paparazzi interference and publicly described its harms, citing Prince Harry's grief. Photographs of their children have appeared in carefully planned contexts, including a streaming service documentary, holiday cards, and advertising content. The photos are usually planned and limited children from behind faces hidden or moments carefully arranged, but they improve the children's public image. A video of the Duchess cooking with a kid partially in view sparks speculation that the family staged the scenario for media attention. Both intentional and accidental privacy breaches highlight the tension between protective regulations and tactical use of familial imagery. Critics who combine these elements into a hypocritical narrative say the couple's fight against social media only benefits their emotional, reputational, and financial interests. They believe that pushing for digital landscape structural transformation could reduce the couple's online monitoring, giving them a personal advantage. Prince Harry's paid speaking, commentating, and public advocacy confuses personal belief with professional gain. Speaking fees and television appearances are legitimate sources of revenue for public officials. But when financial reasons coincide with advocacy, viewers may question whether policy opinions are driven by principle or by economic gains. Recognition that advocacy and personal interest are complex and not disqualifying is crucial. Many social reformers have personal stakes in their causes. Moral authority and compelling action can come from lived experience. The Sussexes' case is complicated by their contradictory public statements denouncing social media's harms, while using it to boost their commercial and personal visibility, and claiming privacy while sharing carefully curated images of their children in public. Contradictions destroy confidence, say critics. They may show proponents the difficulty of balancing privacy, family, and income in a platform-dominated world. This clash is rhetorical and intentional. Clear consistency between their ideals and actions will boost the Sussexes' reputation if they want to influence platform governance policies. This may involve reducing or restructuring their use of engagement-driven platforms, actively exploring privacy and meaningful interaction-focused communication channels, or implementing programs that empirically evaluate and demonstrate safer digital practices for families and children. Inviting invitation-only parenting forums with strict privacy safeguards, funding independent research on age-appropriate interface design, or supporting algorithmic transparency in third-party evaluation legislation are examples. They could also support privacy-preserving customization prohibitions on targeted advertising to minors and algorithmic recommendation labeling. These efforts would demonstrate a commitment to change rather than superficial censure and reduce accusations that the relationship is self-serving. Without such alignment, doubt will prevail, and opponents will continue to raise contradictions to invalidate their assertions. If a famous advocacy campaign seeks tougher platform regulation, yet continues commercial enterprise marketing on such platforms, viewers will infer conflicting goals. To change this view, one must change habits or provide clear explanations that balance family privacy, income, and digital public life. Clear disclosure on commercial motivations, explaining why specific platforms were used for early outreach and how long-term initiatives would reduce dependence on engagement-driven systems, would greatly reduce hypocrisy claims. The Dodgers incident and social media discussions revolve about authenticity in modern public life. Contemporary audiences increasingly praise people who act in accordance with their beliefs. The Sussexes traverse a vast and detailed media landscape, expansive in their brand and prospects, and detailed in how every move, platform, pick, and personal revelation can be enlarged, examined, and used for multiple storylines. They must develop a public image and organizational practices that can be scrutinized while promoting economic success and policy effect. Effective coherence and reputational risk reduction are possible. Uniform name and titling procedures would initially clarify the couple's desire to profit from royal grandeur. A transparent, publicly expressed policy on commercial title use, based on legal advice and trademark considerations, would set clear expectations. 2. Open governance for Archewell and its commercial operations, with independent directors and publicly published mission indicators, would show institutional maturity and oppose personality-driven management. Third, a philosophical and pragmatic privacy policy for children's photos, specifying who can publish images, how, and under what conditions, would demonstrate that privacy is an organizational standard rather than just a verbal desire. Fourth, examining alternative communication ecosystems like email newsletters, corporate websites, closed community platforms, or privacy-centric media could demonstrate that transformation is desirable and doable. Supplemental strategic activities may boost credibility. Charities might provide funders and partners with a defined theory of change, baseline measurements, independent evaluations, and public disclosures by implementing strict effect measurement frameworks. Transparent supply chain disclosure, including sourcing price and community benefits, can reduce elitism in commercial firms. Third-party credibility can be gained by strategic collaborations with respected nonpartisan academic or community organizations. An integrated communications playbook that anticipates criticism and provides consistent pre-approved solutions would reduce the perception of spontaneous errors. A marriage with a public biography of significant clashes, legal disputes with media companies, and navigating British monarchy and American celebrity is complicated. In a market that favors personal entrepreneurship, they must navigate royal titles and customs. Their privacy commitment must be balanced with public recognition's financial benefits. They must turn platform dynamics critiques into feasible, non-self-serving strategies. Multiple quantitative changes would indicate success. Media coverage would shift from scandals and anecdotes to major projects, collaborations, and quantifiable results. Recurring sales, positive reviews, and earned media that stresses product quality or mission above celebrity endorsement indicate consumer acceptance. Philanthropic and corporate partners would sign multi-year agreements based on governance and program effectiveness. If the couple's advocacy led to credible policy recommendations like algorithmic reporting laws, age verification standards, or digital literacy funds, it would signal a change from critique to constructive involvement. Both reputation and influence are fragile and dependent in modern public life, as these interactions show. Access is made easier by names and titles, but public support, customer loyalty, and policy legitimacy need consistency, humility, and provable congruence between statements and actions. The couple's recent stadium disapproval and explicit public criticisms of social media while using its platforms for commercial purposes demonstrate the challenges of defining a public persona amid commerce, media, economics, and personal scrutiny. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex's ability to adapt, match their message with their deeds, and build new trust in the American environment will determine if their projects can turn instant notoriety into sustainable success. Their experience will demonstrate the challenges of turning aristocratic ancestry into modern, financially sustainable public activity in an era of instant amplification and constant public scrutiny. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and say goodbye for now.